Monday, April 3rd, Planning Board meeting here in Fairfield, and thank you, members. We appreciate you. I'd like to call for the review of the minutes of the January 9th meeting. If you've had a chance to look at those.
Wasn't much there.
What's?
There wasn't much there.
I know, there wasn't much there. Any questions or comments about those meeting notes? Hearing none, I call for a vote to accept those. All those in favor?
Motion to accept them as written.
What's that?
I make a motion to accept them as written.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Public hearings, we have two tonight. The first one is Pine Ridge Builders LLC minor subdivision application for 27 Savage Street for a proposed four-lot subdivision identified on tax map 23, lot 134, and map 1, lot 2A, zoned urban residential. Before we get to that public meeting, however, our board, normally, we can do site walks. We don't necessarily have to. We haven't discussed this yet. If everybody's familiar with, I know we live right around the corner from there, so if you're familiar with the property, that's fine. Is there anybody here that wants to have a planning board site walk on that location?
21 Savage Street, because of the wetlands?
Yes, we will get to public hearing in just 1 minute.
Oh, I thought that was a question.
No, the question here, right now, before we get to public hearing, is to our board members, if they want to have a walk site meeting to look at the project.
Okay.
Or if the board members are familiar with the location. I've been by and seen the survey pins. Does anybody here want to have a formal board site walk?
How was that for wetland down there?
We'll get to that.
Because I know when I was younger, it was.
Oh, yeah, all of that property is a little marshy. But I believe that Nicole has a report from DEP identifying what's there for wetlands or vegetation. So, I take a straw vote. Anybody want to do a site walk, or just on your own since you have the maps and can see where it is? Go ahead, Max.
Will the property owner allow us to access the site?
Oh, absolutely. If we request, they will let us to look at it for conditions that may or may not be in the ordinance, or it may be, we want to see the buffer zones or what's around, and it may help us. However, we're having a meeting tonight for public hearing, as well as we're probably going to vote on the project tonight. Now, if there's a need for a site walk by the board members, we would table this approval and go do that. We still can have the public hearing tonight, but let's discuss that after the public hearing. And maybe it would warrant a site walk or to look at something, or then again, after the public hearing, it may not be necessary. So, we'll table that discussion on whether this board wants to do a site walk till after the public hearing. Okay? Going to open the public hearing now on public hearing for Pine Ridge Builders LLC. In the public hearing, anybody can speak, for it, against it, questions, comments. I'm sure we can answer those. So I'll take the first question back there. Go ahead.
On the wetlands?
Yes.
With the water that's going through.
Okay.
My parents have a barn that's been there since 1979 that was built. And because of all the construction that's happened on the other side of the power line, the ball fields, and all the fill that was coming in there, all the water seems to have come down and is now coming back up, moving into the back property at 21 Savage Street.
Okay, and 21 Savage Street is where? This property? No.
Abutting.
Okay, you're
Well,
about.
one right behind 27. Water goes behind 29, 27, 21, 19, and whatever the Plum's house is. It goes right down through.
Okay. Do you remember when that was Sampson's Chicken Houses?
Sure do.
Okay. We skated in those bogs. I lived on Military Avenue my whole life.
Okay.
Okay? So,
Violet?
yes.
Okay.
So the question again, I guess, is questioning wetlands. Nicole, do you have any information that would help answer that one?
Well, maybe we should have the developer show what his proposal is and what his proposal is for the rear land. I mean, just so we have a scope. And I don't have anything, but I do know the developer has had DEP out to the property, so he can inform you.
Okay. So, why doesn't the developer speak to that question, if you would, please? Sure. And state your name.
My name is Jeremy Burbank, own Pine Ridge Builders, and we purchased 27 Savage Street about 3 months ago, and it came with 12.17 acres. And after looking at it, going back and forth, and talking to a surveyor, talking to DEP, he actually came out for a site visit. We determined that there are 2 house lots available on that property. There is no question there's some wetlands out back. Nowhere where we're building a house, or DEP's not going to let me build a house in wetlands.
Right.
And that it would be expensive for us. It wouldn't help us in any way. So we're going to be closer to the road, and it would be a daylight basement, and it's high and dry, and it's a perfect place for drainage. No septic system, it'd be town water, so it seems to be a non-issue on the first lot, which I can identify that lot, which on the map says Lot 3. Excuse me, Lot 1 is the one that we're looking at building a house on.
Okay. So it's right behind the gray house?
It would be beside 27 Savage and
Oh,
beside
gotcha.
21 Savage Street.
Gotcha. Very
Yeah,
good.
right between.
Yeah.
There's an empty house
Sure.
there.
So that first house is built up on street level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 out back?
No, there's one lot out back. I gotta be honest, I don't really want to build a house back there, and I'm sure all the neighbors don't really want me to build a house back there, but we want to reserve the right. It is an actual house lot. We met all the parameters to make it a house lot. I'm going to try to sell it with the house that I have now as like an extra bonus if people
Sure.
want more acreage.
Sure.
But if we have to hold on to it for a couple of years, if someone doesn't want it, we would consider building a house on it. It would not be a full foundation. It would be a slab on gravel because you're getting further back and a little lower than that street was.
So that would be in the vegetated field
It-
area?
correct.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's
and
lot 2.
That would be Lot 2, yes. And Lot 3 is the existing house now.
Very good. The question asked about if that's wetlands. Do you still have concern that that is wetlands?
Oh, absolutely. If it's wet. She can't even
Okay.
access her barn right now because she can't drive down it because it's wet.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
Question, the property you're referencing that you live at or own, is that the Juliet Commons?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, your property is right down by the bog that's right there, okay? And his first lot is up at the street level,
Correct.
okay? And maybe he'd be developing one lot in that mowed field behind that house,
Correct.
okay?
That's what the understanding was, but I also noticed you have the right of way out that.
We have to legally have the right of way for the 10 acres that's under
If
there.
it's a culvert or anything like that.
If we did, the DEP makes sure that it's sized properly. You have to get it permitted, you have to get it inspected if you were to put a culvert in. The land out back really isn't worth much to us. It came with the house. There's no development going on the land back there.
You could thank your parents for that.
But we own it.
Right.
So, you know, we would consider making maybe a little gravel road down through there just to be able to access it. But I'm not sure what would make a road to go across the wetlands to.
Right.
Because there's nothing
I
back
mean,
there.
years ago, we used to throw down boards.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, put the boards down, one across.
Yeah.
Is that entire lot 4, the back parcel of 12.17 acres, is that all wetland?
No, but it does cross a
It
stream.
crosses wetland to get
Yes.
to potentially buildable land.
I can't confirm that that's buildable land back there. I know that it was someone tried to sell it to Mainly Trusses, and they hired an engineer to come in and assess it to see if they could build anything on it. And they said it was too, I don't know if it was too much money, or if it was to get it right, or if it was just not worth it, or if it was too wet. I don't know.
Okay. So at this point, you have no plans to build anything on that lot?
I do not.
Can you talk closer to that microphone next to you?
Just pull it closer to you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Chad.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Again, he's not asking to build down in that field at this time. That field is buildable. Gravel road,
Absolutely.
raised frost wall slab on grade, raise it up,
Yep.
drainage. It's doable,
Yep.
but not in the wooded wetlands that are further back.
Correct.
Very good. And again, that's not part of this program.
Correct.
Okay, we're still in public session. Any other questions or comments about that project that he's doing on Savage Street?
I'm just a mouthpiece.
Well, thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
No other comments from the floor? Then I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to move on to the public hearing for Lyman's Farm Store conditional use permit application for a self-storage unit building at the existing business property located at 353 Skowhegan Road on tax map 7, lot 2C-1, and that's zone commercial. Who is here tonight for Lyman's?
Not officially, but I can. I'm gonna have to send them a bill now.
Well, that's okay. No, that's all right. Randy?
I'm here
Nobody
the other
rides for
project.
free.
Yeah, Tom and his wife are planning on a self-storage unit out behind, kind of toward the upper portion of their property, tentatively sized at 30 foot by 160 foot is what that is. They do want to reserve the option. They haven't ordered the building yet. They're kind of waiting for approval. So they do want to look at the option of and that's what you see off to the left on the plan there. If you have that plan in front of you, upper left, they do want to look at an option of a 40 foot by 160 foot storage building, and that would allow them to have some interior, some climate controlled rooms and so forth.
Okay.
And Ms. Nicole was kind enough to express some concerns as far as what's required for accessibility and building codes and that sort of thing, so we'll relay that to Tom as well to make sure he understands the pros and cons of those things. But that's kind of essentially what he's done. As it's designed right now, both options stay below DEP's thresholds. They have talked about potentially wanting to allow enough space, so if they ever did in the future want to do a second unit, they would have space for that. And if you look on the plan, you'll see that we provided a space for a 125-foot metal buffer if necessary. In other words, if they should go to a second unit in the future, that would kick them over that 1 acre threshold, and then they'd need to have something for stormwater treatment. So we just said, okay, move it back far enough so you've got that buffer space there.
Okay.
You don't have to do an under-drain soil filter or anything of that nature, so they've kind of got that targeted out, so.
Good.
And I can speak on behalf of Dirigo Engineering. We're the receiving waters downstream of them, and my boss got this. He said, should we make a complaint? I said, well, probably not. So we're fine with it. They initially bought that property from the owners of Dirigo Engineering back 20-plus years ago.
Oh, wow.
So we have a good relationship with them, so we have no concerns about the project.
Very good. Again, we're in public hearing about the Lyman storage. Anybody else here tonight to speak to that issue?
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, hearing no other comments on the public hearing for Lyman's Farm Store, I'd like to close that public meeting and move on to item 4, unfinished business, and I see there are none there. New business, minor subdivision application for Pine Ridge Builders, LLC, 27 Savage Street, for proposed 4-lot subdivision identified as tax map 23, lot 134, map 1, lot 2A, zone urban residential, discussion and decision by our board. Any questions or comments from our board on that subdivision?
Going back to your question about a site walk, I have driven past the area and feel that lots 1 and 2 and 3 I have a pretty good understanding of. Lot 4, the back parcel, I have no idea.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we're approving this subdivision. Is it 3 lots now, Nicole, or is it really 4?
Well, it is, he's using the original house as one of the lots.
Gotcha.
So he could technically sell that and not include it in the subdivision. It doesn't have to be, that's his first split. He's entitled to
Correct.
divide that off without including it. So it would leave you a 3-lot subdivision if he chooses to remove that existing home.
Okay.
Or he could call it a 4-lot, as he's choosing to do, because he wants to retain the back land as vacant land, like a green space.
So they're not applying, Max, for any kind of a building permit or building proposed in front of us tonight for that back lot?
Right, what I would propose is that a condition of approval, that if a building were to be sought on lot 4, it would come back to the planning board for review, just because I haven't had any opportunity to
Right.
see that area.
And again, we'd want to look at the wooded wetlands and the vegetation out there, and I'm sure before you would give a permit for that, Nicole, what would be your process?
Even for a single-family
Yep.
home? Well, for a single-family home, if they just had a single driveway and it's single-family, if he found a spot small enough, then if you divide it into 4 and it's a lot of record that he could put a single-family home, anything greater than that would have to come back to the board, because that's what he's asking for, is a single lot.
And I'm not even asking for a building lot on.
Right,
on
just
four.
as green space at this
Yeah.
time.
So that's correct, Max. We would take a conditional approval on that based on that lot 4 has unknown extent of wetlands, and the developer agrees with that anyway. And whatever happens back there someday, I'm sure it's going to get, this municipal review, but DEP is going to be looking close as well if you try to do something. So, any other, good point, thank you. Any other points about this minor subdivision on Savage Street from the board? Hearing nothing else, I would take a motion, and possibly a conditional motion, on the approval of that project.
So moved. Oh, go ahead. I said so moved.
Thank you.
Motion to accept it with a condition for the 4th lot.
That the fourth lot gets planning board review if developed.
Yes.
Okay, is that good, Max?
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd take a motion on the, I'd take a vote on the motion. A second, actually.
I'll second it.
Second, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Next item, Lyman's Farm Store conditional land use permit application to construct self-storage unit building at 353 Skowhegan Road, tax map 7, lot 2C-1, and that is zone commercial. Discussion and decisions by this board. What discussion do we have on that project?
I don't have any.
I just have a few questions. With the secondary or the larger proposed building that has the potential to be climate controlled, it doesn't show where power would be coming from on the site plan.
In both situations that have power, it would be coming from, there's a utility pole down near, trying to see if I can point it out to you. See where the north arrow is, kind of on the upper right of the plan there. Just kind of a little bit, couple inches, well, depending on the scale there. Almost opposite, directly opposite the road, there's a utility pole there. So it'd be going aerial across, you'd have a utility pole within, say, 50 to 100 feet of the building, is where he'd then go underground from that second pole into the building on each case. So
Okay.
he'd have to have, even for this, the 30-foot, he'd still have power for that, just for lighting.
And what is the lighting plan around the building?
That's a good question. I don't know that anything that he we didn't discuss that. I would assume he would have some lighting, but it'd have to be downcast lighting to make sure it meets your, I assume that you've got something for a code as far as lighting, that it can't go across the property line and that sort of thing. So yeah, it would have to meet all those requirements. I would assume he'd have a few wall mount lights around the perimeter, along the walls of the building.
Any other questions or comments from the board on this Lyman proposal?
I have one more. What was the rationale behind not having a fully paved driveway out to the storage facility? There's a small section of gravel drive that's going to be retained.
No, there should be a note there, unless that's an earlier version. There is a plan to gravel it. There's a short section of gravel drive right now. We'll be extending that, but we will be paving that gravel drive.
So it'll be fully paved from Route 201 all the way to the storage.
Correct, yes, that's correct.
I would make that as a note of conditional approval as well.
Okay, because it's shown as gravel.
It's shown as
Oh,
gravel.
and I thought
Okay.
it's paved.
Mine had a note that it was to be paved.
Yeah, there's a note there that says gravel drive. That just refers to what's existing, the one that's just in black, small print.
It's an arrow
within-
to a box. and it
Right, but
says
then-
Existing gravel driveway will be paved.
Oh, okay, yep. I didn't see the note.
Okay,
Okay,
yep.
asked
That-
and answered, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's to the left of, it's like cut out.
Took me a minute to
Yeah.
find it earlier.
Yeah.
Reviewing it.
So it is on the plan.
Okay.
Anything else from the board on this project?
That's not going to be gated in, right? So it won't have a locked gate.
If it's self-storage,
I know some do
That's
and
a
some
good
don't.
question. We
If
haven't
it has a
discussed
locked
that.
gate, the fire chief has to have a key to get into it.
Yeah, fair point. He's made no mention of gate, so if it's a condition or something you want to add to the notes to make sure he does put in a knock box or something if he's got a
I don't
gate.
think they have them.
that is not required in the ordinance, correct, Nicole?
Not for self-storage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, maybe just worth a note saying if he has a gate, then it would have to provide a key.
Absolutely.
Right. He had no discussion of it. I don't think he plans on one.
And there's none shown on the plan, so
Right.
No.
we'll assume that that's not going to happen. Very good. Any other questions or comments from our board? Hearing none, I would take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Have a motion? Second?
I'll second that.
Have a second, thank you. All those in favor? Very good, thank you.
So you didn't move on to findings on that one?
Lyman has findings of fact as well.
Do you
And-
want to do findings, or?
Yes. Do I have that document here
Sure, you have one.
I have it.
on the draft? Okay. Okay, finding of facts. Conditional use finding of facts, Lyman's Farm Store, 353 Skowhegan Road, expansion, new self-storage structure, 40 feet by 60 feet. I'm only going to read the ones that are applicable. A site plan showing scale at a minimum, location of existing proposed structures, and distance from lot lines, water bodies, water supply, and sewage disposal facilities. That was submitted with the planning board with application sheet 1-1. If the market value of the project will exceed $80,000, a copy of plans and specifications for construction shall be required. Building outline and site plan, the engineered specifics for structure will be submitted for the local building permit application prior to start of construction. Existing topographical contours are shown on the site plan. Proposed grading at contour intervals of not more than 5 feet as shown on the site plan. Site improvements as highlighted on the site plan. pedestrian, vehicle travelways, and parking areas. Travelways as shown on the site plan, new gravel driveway shown, existing entrance, and there's a note that it will be paved.
Right.
Landscaping and buffer areas, currently existing, no changes proposed. Stormwater and erosion control structures as shown on the site plan. Private existing water, private existing sewer and power lines, and outside installations of any machinery or materials. No water or sewer needed for self-storage. Estimate of vehicle trips per day to be generated by the development and any modification to the public roads which may be necessary to absorb the traffic as described in the application, a total of 12 trips per day. A list and the names of addresses of landowners within 200 feet of the property boundaries was submitted with the application. Letters to abutters were mailed out on March 24th, 2023, notifying of tonight's public hearing on this application and via Zoom meeting at 61 Water Street. Analysis of potential environmental impacts, including effects on surface and groundwater bodies, air quality, wildlife resources. If any potential negative impacts are identified, the management strategy, consistent with the performance standards of the ordinance and the state and federal regulations, must be prepared by a qualified professional, as shown on the plan. Erosion control plan prepared by a resident engineer, as shown on the plan. Stormwater management plan prepared by a resident engineer. See stormwater management plan on site plans by Derigo Engineering, and also he's noted the future meadow zones is noted on the plan as well. The developer will not create unsafe or unhealthy conditions within the neighborhood in which it is located and shall not create or exacerbate effects upon neighboring properties. This proposed self-storage building expansion project in the commercial land use district has been designed to be in compliance with the requirements of the district and the existing commercial use of this property. The development will not create or add traffic congestion at or below level D of service as defined, and will not create unsafe traffic movements on public roads. As described in the application, the proposed expansion is calculated to generate a total of 12 trips per day. This will not result in the creation of traffic congestion to the surrounding area. The development will not result in undue reduction of air and water quality or wildlife habitat, and will not cause undue flooding or soils erosion. The proposed project will not result in the reduction of air and water quality or wildlife habitat, and will not cause undue flooding or soil erosion. See the stormwater site plans for the project design and erosion control measures to be used. The developer will, to the greatest extent feasible, preserve historic, prehistoric, and architectural resources. There are no known identified historic, prehistoric, or architectural resources on the site. The development will not cause an undue strain on public facilities or services, including public roads, water supply, sewage disposal, solid waste systems, police, educational, and other services. The project will not cause undue strain on public facilities or services. The project will not utilize water or sewer systems. The applicant has sufficient financial and technical capacity to complete the development. The applicant owns Lyman's Farm Store and has financial capacity to complete the project. The development is consistent with the Fairfield Comprehensive Plan in compliance with state and federal law, as well as ordinances, rules, and regulations of the town, including the performance standards of the land use ordinance, unless the board acts to waive said standards. The business expansion is consistent with the Fairfield Comprehensive Plan and is designed along the area State Route 201, Skowhegan Road. Nicole, we want to do finding of fact for the other one as well?
You could move back to the subdivision. We didn't do that. We didn't cover that.
I didn't see one, oh no.
Didn't see one? I do not have.
Oh, yes, I do, I'm sorry. Right in front of me.
Draft. Okay. Are we out of line yet, Nicole?
No, you're doing just fine.
Okay, let me read for another 20 minutes. We're now going to go back to finding of fact, Pine Ridge subdivision, Savage Street, map 23, lot 134, map 1, lot 2A. The Fairfield Planning Board has acted on your application for a minor subdivision as follows. Finding of fact, the owner of the property is Pine Ridge Builders, LLC. The applicant is Jeremy Burbank, representative for Pine Ridge Builders, LLC, who has demonstrated legal interest in the property by providing a copy of a warranty deed, Somerset County, Book 5974, page 133, dated 1/31/23. Location of the property is 27 Savage Street, assesses map 23, lot 134, map 1, lot 2A. Contains 4 lots, and 3 lots has an existing, and lot 3 has existing home on it, and the land totals 12.17 acres in Fairfield. The property is not located in shoreland zone. The property is not in the flood hazard area. The applicant proposes to subdivide the property into 4 lots on the subject property. A completed plan application was submitted on March 21st, 2023. Public hearing was held tonight, April 3rd, 2023. Water is to be supplied by Public Water. See letter from Kennebec Water District, adequate capacity to serve the subdivision. Sewerage is to be disposed by public sewer. See the letter from Fairfield Director of Public Works, adequate capacity to serve the subdivision. Site evaluations on each lot meeting the requirement of the main plumbing rules was completed. Public sewer connection, that is not applicable. Conclusions. Pollution. The proposed subdivision will not result in undue water or air pollution. In making this determination, the Planning Board has considered A, evaluation of land above sea level and its relation to the floodplain's elevation. The property is not within the floodplain. The nature of soils and subsoils in their ability to adequately support waste disposal. The property will not be served by public sewer system. The development will not cause...
Right, it will be served by public?
The property will be served by public sewer system. I was just seeing if you were paying attention.
I was listening.
No, and she is. She's paying attention. The development will not cause air pollution. The property is proposed to be used for residential use. Sufficient water. Municipal water supply. The proposed subdivision has sufficient water available for the reasonably foreseeable needs of the subdivision. Yes, public water. See the statement from Kennebec Water District. Item 3, erosion. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or a reduction in the land's capacity to hold water so that a dangerous or unhealthy condition results. Yes, the subdivision will not create erosion. Property erosion controls will be used during construction. Traffic. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the public roads, existing or proposed. Yes, the statement from the Director of Public Works, the entry location have adequate and safe entry and exit from Savage Street for residential use. Sewage disposal. The proposed subdivision will provide for adequate sewer waste disposal and will not cause unreasonable burden on municipal services if they are utilized. Yes, see the statement from Public Works Director. The existing sewer system can provide adequate sewage waste disposal. Municipal solid waste disposal. The proposed subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipality ability to dispose of solid waste if municipal services are to be utilized. Yes, the subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on solid waste disposal. Item 7, aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. The proposed subdivision will not have an undue adverse effect on scenic or natural beauty of the area. Aesthetics and historical sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or the municipality, or rare or irreplaceable natural areas of any of the public rights for physical and visual access to the shoreline. Yes, the proposed subdivision will not have an undue adverse impact on the area. This is a residential neighborhood, and the subdivision proposes additional residential dwellings. Conformity with the local ordinances and plans. The proposed subdivision conforms with the duly adopted subdivision regulations or ordinance, comprehensive plan, development plan, or land use plan. If any, in making this determination, the planning board has interpreted these ordinances and plans. Yes, the proposed subdivision conforms to the adopted subdivision regulations and is consistent with the Fairfield Comprehensive Plan to add residential dwellings to the existing public water and public sewer services area in infill development. Financial technical capacity. The subdivider has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards of this section. Yes, see letter from Connected Credit Union showing financial and technical capacity. Surface waters. While situated entirely or partially within a watershed of any pond or lake or within 250 feet of any wetlands, the Great Pond or river as defined in Title 38, Chapter 3, Chapter 1, Article 2-B, the proposed subdivision will not adversely affect the quality of the water, of the body of water, or unreasonably affect shoreline zoning of that water. Groundwater is not applicable. Flood areas is not applicable. The standards of the town's minor subdivision ordinance have been met, except for the following, which have been waived by the planning board. No waivers requested.
So the one condition that Max brought up was that even though he's not proposing to build on Lot 4 at this time,
Correct.
are you setting that as a condition of approval?
That will be a condition of
That's
approval.
To remain vacant?
Or
How are you wording it?
Before a building permit is issued on Lot 4,
That, the property owner at that time must come back to the planning board for
that's
approval.
correct. And at that point, obviously show,
Right, then we have the opportunity to look at the property for wetlands,
and then we can walk out there with boots on,
if it's winter.
on frozen ground. Okay, you're all set on that condition?
I am.
Okay, I take a,
Motion
Right.
accept,
to accept that with the condition.
yes, with your condition.
Second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Thank you.
So do you want to take a few minutes to sign that plan before we move on, so the developer can
Yes,
head out?
then he can go, correct.
We'll take a recess.
We'll take a 5-minute recess to sign that Mylar. Is it ready? So patient with us tonight, sitting out there. You know, here we goofing off, signing things, and he's been so patient. Item C on our agenda tonight, call the meeting back to order. Conditional use permit, COND 2022-03 for Ranger Construction to construct an office and maintenance facility along with a self-storage facility on 22 acres of land off Norwich Walk Road on Tax Map 2, Lot 9, in the Rural Residential Land Use District, issued 10/18/22. Request for a 180-day extension to commence construction on the permit. Discussion and decision. Okay. Who can explain themselves?
Well, basically, I can't apply for a permit because I don't have a DEP permit yet.
Right.
Just one
Kind of cart before the horse.
Yeah, that's fine. And we know that, and we knew it, and that's fine.
That's the reason I asked for an extension.
Absolutely. Any, from our board, any discussion on this item about his extension, trying to get a DEP permit?
No, it's not his fault.
Hearing no discussion, I would call for a motion to approve that extension, 180 days.
Make a motion to approve the 180-day extension.
I have a motion. Looking for a second?
Second.
Thank you. Have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Thank you.
Did you vote on that one, Terry?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. D, final subdivision application for DW LLC Reservoir Hill Subdivision Route 104 to construct Phase 1 on the proposed subdivision off Norwich Walk Road on the former Kennebec Water District land consisting of 150 plus or minus acres on tax map 2, lot 9 in the Rural Land Use District.
So before we move on to that, as Bill just explained to you, he did not receive his site location or development permit, so he was believing that he was going to be completely ready to move on to final tonight, but unfortunately, at the last minute, he did not receive that permit yet again. But we've been asked to do a preliminary review of final discussion, so the agenda would change instead of final subdivision application to discussion of preliminary final.
So it's discussion of a preliminary final, okay.
I guess our goal is to try to get right to the finish line, about 1 inch short, and then be able to get it over once we get that permit. I do have just a slightly updated plan. The plan that you have that was submitted to you did not show the duplex lots, so we've added that to the plan.
Thank you.
So that's the only significant change. I think we might have just tweaked 1 or 2 notes just to clarify a couple of things.
And the one on your screen is the most recent plan. Randy did give it to Chad.
I don't believe, I think it's been, what, 6, 7 months or more since we were, last August, I believe, September.
I
would
did
be the
a
last.
timeline of when
Yeah.
you,
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
okay.
I think the last time we were here, I think we had the entire subdivision, and then we had talked about breaking it back, scaling it back, thank you, scaling it back to just what we planned on in Phase 1. So that's kind of the largest change that you'll see if you've been with us from day one on this project. So we got it scaled back, so the proposal is a little more manageable financially, you know, getting the project off the ground and so forth. It consists of 10 residential, single-family residential lots, and then 1 lot for duplexes, and the goal there is to do 9 duplexes for a total of 18 single-family units. And then there's 1 open space lot, that'd be lot number 2, and that's around Kennebec Water District's original reservoir. That's where that one is located, so there are some trails and so forth around there, so that give some recreational activity. And then there's 1 lot, lot 7, I believe it is, which is dedicated for commercial use. And that's, the target there is for office space or something that's low impact, is the goal for that one. And that, the reason that that one single lot is commercial is because of noise concerns. It's fairly close to the proposed construction site, and after talking with our noise consultant, they said, yeah, that's really not going to pass as far as meeting the criteria, the regulations that it would have to have, so we scaled that one back to a commercial lot there. Just a few other highlights. So the size of the subdivision, including the road areas, is 66 acres. That's for the Phase 1 portion of it. We are expecting, I was told 2 weeks ago, that the primary project manager from DEP had reviewed it. She had kicked it up the ladder to the next person signing, thought it'd have it within a few days. A few days has passed once again, so it's just a frustrating situation, but it is what it is. So again, the goal tonight, I think, is just to try to get all these little loose ends wrapped up, things that we've talked about in the past. Now we've got them on paper, look them over, make sure everybody's happy, and then hopefully, once we come in next time, it'll be just a matter of going through the findings of fact and getting this thing out the door. A couple of notes just to clarify. Down at the lower left, these are some notes that were relatively recent, changes that we had talked about from our previous meeting 6 or 8 months ago. Note number 12 is the note that we've had on there regarding the waiver. Remember the entrance waiver that we've talked about? MDOT, a town's ordinance required that if we're going to have more than I think it's 200 trips per day, then it would need a second entrance. And we've negotiated with the town and with MDOT to provide kind of a double-wide entrance in order to meet that criteria, and then also provide a loop road within the construction yard. So that's what note number 12 revolves around. Then note number 13, I think this is the first time this has actually been on the plans. Fairfield Planning Board waived subdivision ordinance 12G, which basically, that ordinance required sidewalks. And in some of our previous meetings, you indicated that you would not require sidewalks. And then 14, regarding all buildings with sleeping areas are to have sprinklers. And then note number 15, the private roads, there are 2 private roads, Gravel Street and Imagination Lane, shall remain private roads to be maintained by the developer. And I welcome any questions.
For the private roads, is there any sort of homeowners association that will ensure that those are maintained for emergency access?
One of them, if you look on the plans, there's one that is kind of center of the page, that is actually the one that's called Gravel Street. Mm-hmm. That one is private, but it is actually on the land that the construction yard is going to be on. So that one will be set up so that Ranger will own that property, and they'll be the maintainer of that road. So that will cover that road. And then the other road will be a private homeowners association for that one. One of them, the road to the north, which is Imagination Lane, and I guess it's actually, okay, it is labeled there now, I see it. That one, a portion of that road, the first 2/3 of it goes through the duplex lots. So they'll have to maintain that anyways, it'll service the duplexes as well as these 2 private homeowners, and then that will extend off through there. So yes, there will be an agreement to maintain those roads.
Does this board typically see those agreements prior to approval, or draft language for those?
Or at least we like to see that as part of a conditional approval, that the maintenance agreements are put to everybody's deed that's involved in this. So if you buy lot 8, on your deed, it clearly defines that it is who is maintaining it. If the developer's forever going to maintain it, because it's not going to be a city street.
Right.
So by deed, Max's point that If it's a homeowners association, we'd like to see it. If it's going to be guaranteed by deed to the buyers, maintenance or replacement, then we don't necessarily need to see that.
Okay.
So maybe, Max, a condition of approval is anybody owning these lots by deed, it defines them, who's maintaining and replacing these roads.
Right.
And that's a good point. The lots, the northernmost plan is between lots 12 and 13, so that'd be relatively easy, I think, to have a shared maintenance on that one. It's just 2 lots that are owning that, and then the rest of that road crosses through what is DW LLC's property, where the duplexes are going, so we can make sure that's clear.
DW LLC will be retaining ownership of the duplex lot.
Correct. That's correct.
But I think lots 12 and 13, to Max's point, at the end of that road, if they bought this lot and they want to build on it, by deed, it could say homeowners association shared with lot 12 and 13, but they're driving through 1/8 of a mile of private roads, and they
Right.
need to be guaranteed that they can get to the North
Yes,
Walk Road.
correct, right.
Okay,
right.
so-
And that's exactly why that road is indicated on there. Imagination Lane is indicated as a private road.
Right.
As you see in, as this red dashed across there, but
I think-
yes, we can clarify that in the deeds to make sure
Okay.
that that's.
Yeah, I would say the deed for the duplex lot would need to clarify that the property owner would be responsible for maintaining that roadway.
Are the duplexes to be rented or sold?
Haven't 100% decided.
Okay. So, because of that, if a condition of approval says that anybody that takes title to a house or a duplex, their deed guarantees the maintenance of the private roads, then the individuals are protected and the town is protected from complaints.
Right.
That make sense, Max? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't develop a homeowners association for care and maintenance and replacement, but same thing, the homeowners association agreement has to be recorded on the deeds when you pass title.
And I think something similar should be put into the deed around Gravel Street for DW LLC to maintain that roadway for lots 10, 11, and 3.
And it's the same thing. These guys, if it says on their deed that it's maintained by, DWCC or a home, it should say so on the deed to protect them. They won't buy those lots unless they know that the road getting to them will be taken care of.
And the town has to be confident that emergency access will be available to those lots.
Right. Right. Now, the roads are being built to town standards,
Right.
paved.
Those gravel roads are not.
Oh, the gravel.
The public roads are, the one that's called Gravel
Oh.
Street is not going to be paved, and the tail end, the far north end of Imagination Lane, not necessarily going to be paved.
Okay.
It could be, but the intent right now is just to leave that gravel.
But they're still built to the town,
Yes, as far as width and gravel depths and all of that, yes.
for the fire trucks.
Correct, that's right.
Will the entire loop for the duplexes be paved?
Yes, that's your intent, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
correct. And just for those of you that are newer to the project, the southern part of Lot 3 is actually in Waterville, and they've kind of been a driving force between making sure that we have adequate turnaround and road width and so forth there. So we've basically got the best of Fairfield and Waterville's road ordinance to make sure that that is met there. And we do have to go through the Waterville Planning Board. Once we get approval here, we've got to get approval through them as well. We have met with them several times as well, so they're just waiting to sign off before they can sign off. Not putting any pressure on you, but.
So that condition of improvement of approval. Should it say, all lots sold will have deeded road maintenance and repair guarantees?
On those gravel roads?
On all the private roads that are selling lots?
They're going to, you guys are going to propose a road maintenance agreement, or?
Yes,
You guys?
yeah, and what we can do is we can, I'm thinking what we may do, we may just update the plan to have that shown indicated right on the plan. So
Okay.
it doesn't need to be a condition, it can just be built right into the
If it's
text.
on the signed
Right.
Mylar, yes, but
Right.
note that is very clear that, again, any lot sold on these private gravel roads or private roads have a deeded maintenance agreement.
Right.
And clearly indicates who's responsible, whether it's the homeowners, as part of a homeowner association that would include DW LLC, or DW LLC is going to be responsible for
Right.
maintenance.
So, and again, I like the idea that that note on the Mylar is also reflected on the deeds that pass title.
Sure.
Okay, that way, it's clear here, but it's clear
Right.
when someone's
Yep.
getting ready to build. Any other questions or comments preliminarily now on this subdivision? That's a good point, thank you, Max.
Will all electric utility be along the roadways?
Yes, correct.
Street lights?
At the intersections is what Bruce Williams has requested, so yes.
Gotcha. And I assume around these duplexes, there's walkway lighting and/or building
Yes.
lighting as well?
Right, yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments now from our board on this proposed subdivision?
Is the turnaround down at lots 12 and 13 large enough to meet the town of Fairfield standard?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's, I don't remember, I think it's 60 by 60.
I think it's 75 by 75, isn't it? The L turnaround?
That may be the pavement. I guess I'd have to,
Okay. It's for fire trucks and...
Yeah.
Right, we want to make sure trash trucks, fire trucks,
Right.
everything can turn around down
Yeah.
there.
that was the intent.
Right.
Hopefully it's made that large. L32 and L34, I'd have to find those.
It just looks smaller than the other three, so.
It looks narrower, but if you go down to the south end of
Gravel Street.
Gravel Street, you see that one there as well. And again,
Yeah,
it's emergency vehicles.
That's a good question. I'll confirm that
Okay.
to make sure it's,
Again, I think it's 75 by 75.
It looks like L11 and L12 are both 60 feet, and then L33 and 32 are 25 by 40. So it looks like they're smaller.
They're both 60 by 60, aren't they?
Do you know off the top, Nicole, is that the standard?
No, I'd have to look it up. I
Okay.
don't know it off the top of my head, no.
I believe what we've shown on those other lots, I agree, that one between 12 and 13 looks small, but I believe the
Yeah, it
other ones
does.
are shown.
All of the other ones are
size.
60 by 60.
Right.
Except for the one at 12.
I think 60 by 60 is the right size.
Okay.
So I'm curious about why we didn't get that one right. That's good.
So page 36, it says, "An alternate to the cul-de-sac would be a branch-type turnaround consisting of a parcel of land at least 60 feet square and set off at a right angle to either side of the roadway." And it says, "The branch turnaround shall be at least 50 feet."
Any other questions or comments about this subdivision from our board? And again, this is just preliminary.
Do you want to do a proposed findings, a rough proposed findings?
I'd love to. I'd like to do as much as we possibly can, and that way, if there are any questions, we can get it resolved and ready for next time,
Up to
if
you.
you're agreeable.
I don't have any findings on this one, do I? No?
I don't think so.
We know that he meets the findings. We can wait for the final.
Okay, it's just a rough
Right.
proposal, it's just in case you
Oh, I
wanted
do
to,
have-
anybody wanted to review where you guys were at.
Did we do this before?
We didn't do,
Because back in June,
So you have the timeline, if you want to read through the timeline so you can refresh what you've done so far.
do you have the timeline with you?
No,
I do not.
Okay.
I try to keep my binder as small as I
I see
can.
that. You're well organized now.
I have the timeline if you want to reference it.
Just wondering if we want to do this. We did the public hearing on 10/22.
for the conditional use permit, which he asked for an extension tonight,
Correct.
right? That just lists the whole, every time he's come in front of you, and what you guys did.
Bill, we're working on our second page just on your timeline.
It's been 2 years.
Who said this was going to be easy?
Yeah.
Another quick question for you. On lot 12, the turnaround will be separate from the driveway for lot 12, correct? Or will that
No, the intent would be that that is
physical driveway for
Yes.
lot 12 would
Right.
be the turnaround?
correct, yes.
So that driveway will have to be the feet wide.
Well, the first part of it, yeah,
Yeah.
well, the 50 feet I think that she referenced was the depth. The 60 foot by 60 foot, that's essentially the property line or the right-of-way width, but that's not necessarily the road width. I think the road width is probably, there may be stipulations in there that state how wide the road width. I think the road itself can be the same as the primary road coming in. So in other words, if we've got a 20-foot wide road coming in there, then the turnaround to back into is going to be 20 feet wide by 50 feet deep, I believe is what you said, Nicole.
I thought you said it was 60 by 60 square.
Right, but that's the land is what it said. So that's basically the boundary of the land itself,
Okay.
but not the gravel.
And because it's privately owned and privately maintained, the curb cut for that driveway can be not where you're stacking snow.
Right.
That's all. So
Right.
back down on the throat of that turnaround is where you would snake a driveway off.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Now, just going through this, Randy, item 12, financial capacity, C statement, attachment 4. The subdivision ordinance, Article 8, requirement for final subdivision plan performance guarantees, DW LLC, has submitted a performance bond to the town council. They approved the performance bond on 10/26/22, and that will expire on 10/6/23. So if you don't know, now your plan has changed with the extent of city streets.
No, I don't think it has. That performance bond, when we did that, I believe, was based on this scaled-back plan.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
because that was done after, I think our previous meeting was a few weeks before that, when we had the discussion about going just to Phase 1. So that Phase 1 is what we use for that performance bond.
Okay.
Yes.
So how are you going to handle inspections of that constructed road to meet town standards and, backed up by this performance standard? You're going to get an engineer to, because
Right.
Nicole's not going out there to...
No,
No.
we'll have to, I assume that Bruce may be the primary one that would dictate how he wants that done. Would that be correct, Nicole?
Correct. It would be just like the industrial road that just was expanded for Gregory's. The engineer was present. I wasn't present for those inspections, Bill, but,
Who's inspected it?
and the engineer gave a final report, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What we've done on some, and in fact on yours, Kevin, is after they got to subgrade, we went out and surveyed subgrade every 50 to 100 feet or so, and then developed that profile, and then after they've got the gravel in, then go back and survey that again. It's a pretty easy way to confirm that they've got the gravel depth
Right, what I'm
required.
getting at is this is a lot of roads for Bruce to go out and do that. I
Right.
know he did a little section. How big was this industrial road expansion?
It was a wide road, but I'm not quite sure how long that
It was
road.
over 1,000 feet.
Was it? Yeah.
I was going to
Yeah.
say around.
And it was St. Germain, I believe, you hired for your engineer. So he had an engineer.
Okay.
Right. Gregory's had an engineer, St.
Gotcha.
Germain, that went and reviewed their work. So it wasn't necessarily Bruce. Bruce would look at it, observe it, but their engineer employed by Gregory's.
Would
did
give
the-
a letter?
Would give, right, the letter of their inspection reports to the
Okay.
town. So I'm not sure if they did compaction tests. I wasn't present. so
We did.
That's what I thought. I had heard, yeah.
Both ways, primary.
So are you looking, Randy, at a similar situation here?
I would think so. I guess
Okay.
my thought would be we'll coordinate with Nicole and Bruce to see
Okay.
what they're happy with.
I'd caution to just shift it on Public Works and say, oh, yeah, that's roads, that's Bruce's problem. No, I think that Bruce, works all day, and I think that an engineer's letter and an engineer doing the sub-basin inspection and the gravel depth and reporting to Bruce and having Bruce out there to see what's going on is cleaner to defend Bill later on that these roads were built to town standards. So that's, it's a relatively inexpensive but a good guarantee way to do it.
Right, it worked pretty well on that project we did for you, and
Yep,
it's...
yep, no
It's a matter
questions.
of getting out there we've got GPS equipment now, and in the course of an hour, we can get all the shots we need, and then come back after he's got the road built and go back and check, and of course, check sieve analysis and
Yeah.
that sort of thing as well. So it's a pretty
Yeah, and that was
easy
a
way.
half a mile of roads.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? And again, this is just preliminary. I can't see that we're going to go through this finding of fact, Nicole,
So
No,
on
I think if you're just skimming through it and kind of picking the highlights,
Right.
anything you see that's out of line,
Right.
it'd be nice to pick up on it now, so we can
Right.
adjust it for when we come back.
Because depending on when you get your permits and when you come back, that performance bond probably should be extended.
Already asked for it.
Okay,
Actually, I've got it at the office.
okay, because
Yep.
here it is, April.
Right. I know that Michelle Llewellyn had reached out to DEP, put some pressure on them as well, and they indicated that maybe they could get it for tonight, but weren't sure, so I expect it any day, so it's just a matter of when it comes, we'll set up for the next meeting. Are you meeting every 2 weeks or once a month now?
once a month right now, but that's up to the board if they wanted to meet sooner.
Special meeting if Bill brought in some lobster,
If Bill's...
something like that?
We surely can accommodate if Bill wants to get going.
That'd be great, again,
You know,
like I say, if
here it is April, you know, May comes real quick, and that's
Right. And then
construction season.
Right, and we've still got to schedule a Waterville meeting as well, so it's just
Yeah.
all these things that are,
Oh, you'll find us to be much more accommodating than Waterville.
well, they've been okay on this because it's just one half of a lot.
Very good.
Yep.
Anything else on this, to our board members, on this project? Questions or comments? Hearing none, I don't think we're even going to call for a vote because it is still preliminary. And Nicole, on your list, you had a list. Is there anything else we need to be aware of? The survey was a big one, and that's done.
Yeah, everything I had, I put in your draft that's in
Yep.
front of you, so, and Bill explained that he's already asked for an extension of his performance bond. You talked about the private roads and that you would like to see some sort of road maintenance agreement or wording that's going to end up explaining how that will be dealt with, which they're going to work on. And then the T turnaround on Lot 12, just to verify that it meets the minimum for a emergency vehicle turnaround. I can't think of anything else.
Very good. Randy, I think that is...
Okay. Thank you very much for the time you put into this, and especially tonight, kind of taking it as far as you could without actual signing. So we'll get these adjustments made, and hopefully, maybe see you in a couple of weeks if that works for you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks.
All right.
Yeah, good
Thanks.
luck, Bill. Item 6, moving right along. Items by public.
We have,
Public.
Any items by the public?
okay.
Clerk, thank you.
I do have one item that was brought forward by the town council, and the town clerk asked me to discuss it with you. I've laid in front of you, out of your bylaws, election of officers, and that you take typically your first meeting in January to elect new officers. They've asked that that be moved back to February because they like to meet in January 1st. And if anybody needs reappointment, they have time to swear in the member whose time on the board might have lapsed, in time to make sure that they're reappointed before anybody's voted on to take a position on the board. So
Okay.
if you want to vote on that and change your bylaws, only the planning board can change their bylaws.
Okay. The discussion is the annual appointment of offices moved from January to February. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd call for a vote.
I'll
Motion?
make a motion, we change from January to February.
Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Anything else, Nicole?
That is all that I had to bring forward from the
Okay.
town clerk.
Any items tonight by members? No items by members. I'd call for motion to adjourn the meeting. Boy, that was quick. Boy, right there. Have a motion?
I'll second it.
Second it, thank you. All those in favor? Great, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate you.